What are your thoughts on Bing poking the tiger and telling Google, dance, Sundar, dance?
What's interesting is Google's had like an incredible AI competency, particularly since they bought DeepMind. And it's been predominantly oriented towards kind of, internal problems. They demonstrated last year that their AI improved data center energy efficiency by 40%. They've used it for ad optimization, ad copy optimization, the YouTube follow video algorithm. So what video is suggested to you as your next video to watch, which massively increased YouTube hours watched per user, which massively increased YouTube revenue. What's the right time and place to insert videos in YouTube or insert ads in YouTube videos. So, autofill in Gmail and Docs. So much of this competency has been oriented specifically to avoid this primary disruption in search. Obviously, now things have come to a bit of a point because, this alternative for search has been revealed in ChatGPT. And you guys can kind of think about search, and, we've used this term in the past. Larry and Sergey, the textbook that they read, one of the original textbooks that's used in internet search engine technology is called information retrieval. So information retrieval is this idea that how do you pull data from a static data set, and it involves scanning that data set or crawling it, and then creating an index against it, and then a ranking model for how do you pull stuff out of the index to present the results from the data that's available based on what it is you're querying for. And doing that all in a tenth of a second. So, if you think about the information retrieval problem, you type in the data or some rough estimation of the data you want to pull up, and then a list is presented to you. And over time, Google realized, hey, we could show that data in smarter, quicker ways. Like if we can identify that you're looking for a very specific answer, we can reveal that answer in the one box, which is the thing that sits above the search results. Like if you said, what time is it? When does this movie show at this theater? So they can pull out the structured data and give you a very specific answer rather than a list from the database. And then over time, there were other kind of modalities for displaying data that it turns out were even better than the list, like maps or shopping, where you can kind of see a matrix of results, or YouTube, where you can see a longer form version of content. And so these different kind of information retrieval media were presented to you, and it really kind of changed the game and created much better user satisfaction in terms of getting what they were looking for. The challenge with this new modality is it's not really fully encompassing. So if you can kind of think about the human-computer interaction problem, you want to see flight times and airlines and the price of flights in a matrix. You don't necessarily want a text stream written to you to give you the answer that you're looking for, or you want to see a visual display of shopping results, or you do want to see a bunch of different people's commentary because you're looking for different points of view on a topic rather than just get an answer. But there are certainly a bunch of answer solutions for which ChatGPT type, natural language responsiveness becomes a fantastic and better mode to present answers to you than the matrix or the list or the ranking and so on. Now, the one thing that I think is worth noting, I did a back of the envelope analysis on the cost of doing this compared to ChatGPT. So Google makes about $3 per click. You can back into what their revenue per search is a bunch of different ways. One way is $3 per click, about a 3% click-through rate on ads. Some people estimate, this is about right, about 5 cents to 10 cents revenue per search done on Google, or anywhere from 1 cent to 10 cents, let's
Even
say.
if they don't click the ads, because 1 out of 100 people click an ad, and that's where the money comes from.
So let's just call it 5 cents, right? And you can assume a roughly 50% margin on that search, which means a 50% COGS, or cost of goods, or a cost to run that search and present those ads. So, right now, Google search costs them about, call it 2.5 cents per search to present the results. A recent estimate on running the GPT-3 model for ChatGPT is that each result takes about 30 cents of compute. So it's about an order of magnitude higher cost to run that search result than it is to do it through a traditional search query.
Today.
Which makes today. That's right. And so that's the point. Like, it has to come down by about an order of magnitude. Now, this then becomes a very deep technical discussion that I'm certainly not the expert, but there are a lot of great experts and there's great blogs and Substacks on this, on what's it going to take to get there, to get a 10x reduction in cost on running these models. And there's a lot related to kind of optimization on how you run them on a compute platform, the type of compute hardware that's being used, all the way down to the chips that are being used. So there's still quite a lot of work to go before this becomes truly economically competitive with Google. And that really matters, because if you get to the scale of Google, you're talking about spending $8 to $20 billion a quarter just to run search results and display them. And so for ChatGPT type solutions on Bing or elsewhere to scale and to use that as the modality, you're talking about something that today would cost $80 billion a quarter to run from a compute perspective if you were to do this across all search queries. So it's certainly going to be a total game changer for a subset of search queries. But to make it economically work for these businesses, whether it's Bing or Google or others, there's a lot of work still to be done.
The great part about this, Chamath, is that Bing gave $10 billion to our friend Sam and ChatGPT to invest in Azure, which now has the infrastructure and will be providing the ChatGPT infrastructure to startups or corporations, big companies and small alike. So that $10 billion should do enough to grind it down between software optimization, data optimization, chip optimization, and cloud optimization. Yes, you would think so, or no?
The ability to run this at scale is going to happen because we're getting better and better at creating silicon that specializes in doing things in a massively parallelized way. And the cost of energy at the same time is getting cheaper and cheaper along with it. When you multiply these two things together, the effect of it is that you'll be able to run these models. The same output today will cost 1/10, as long as you ride the energy and compute curve for the next few years. So that's just going to naturally happen. I have two interesting takeaways. And one is maybe a little bit of a sidebar. So the sidebar is, if you guys were sitting on top of something that you thought was as foundational as Google search back in 1999, would you have sold 49% of it for $10 billion?
Hard no.
I think the answer is no. I think the answer is no.
Not in an environment where you have unlimited ability to raise capital.
This is something that we've said before, which is that ChatGPT is an incredibly important innovation, but it's an element of a platform who will get quickly commoditized because everybody will compete over time. And so I think what Microsoft is doing is the natural thing for somebody on the outside looking in at an entity that has 93% share of a very valuable category, which is, how can I scorch the earth? And so Microsoft effectively, for $10 billion, bought almost 50% of a tool, and now will make that tool as pervasive as possible so that consumer expectations are such that Google is forced to decay the quality of their business model in order to compete. So that, as Friedberg said, you have to invest in all kinds of compute resources that today are still somewhat expensive. And that will flow into the P&L. And what you will see is that the business quality degrades. And this is why when Google did the demo of Bard, the first thing that happened was the stock went off 500 basis points. They lopped off $100 billion of the market cap, mostly in reaction to, oh my God, this is not good for the long-term business.
Explain why it's not good for the long-term business on a mechanical basis. When you get an answer, you don't have to click the links?
No, right now, if you look at Google's business, they have the best business model ever invented on earth ever for a profit company. It just rains money. This is a business that this year will do almost $100 billion of free cash flow. It's a business that has to find ways, and we kind of joke, but they have to find ways to spend money. Otherwise, they'd be showing probably 50 or 60% EBITDA margins, and people would wonder, hey, wait a minute, you can't let something like this go unattended. So they try to do a lot more things to make that core treasure look not as incredible as it is. They have $120 billion of cash. This is a business that's just an absolute juggernaut, and
they have 10 times as many employees as they need to run the core business. That says enough, right?
I don't know what that is, but my point is that it's an incredible business.